Hello. Welcome to the Brilliance Show. Oh my goodness, I am so excited about today. You guys just don't even know. Oh, we have such an amazing special guest back. But we're hosting Brilliance on the Monday. Listen, it is Monday. You guys should be watching this and getting your pen and pad out. I have with me none other than Dr. And she is a doctor in so many senses. I'm gonna tell you right now, because she just works her magic, and the Lord is with her all the time as she is doing her thing, honey. And she is Dr. Tamika Thomas. She is a creative writer, she's an educator, she's an author, and she's an entrepreneur. And you know what? We host Brilliance every Monday because we want to shut down those narratives, those negative narratives about education. And this sister that I have with me, Dr. Thomas, she does that. She is an author. And today we're going to really talk about how to write with purpose through culturally responsive teaching in a winning classroom. Her classrooms are always winning because she has the right ingredients, and she's going to share them with you all today. She is here with us. So say hello to the people.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me on the show. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I'm humbled and honored to be on the show today.
Yay. Oh my goodness. Listen, we're glad to have you back. We had such we had Dr. Thomas earlier in the year in another segment that we were doing with excellent educators, and she can be in all the segments, honey, because she's just that creative and brilliant, and she's so humble about it, and she's just like, oh, she does amazing things, and she's like, hey, like nothing ever happened. But I love it. I love it. So Dr. Thomas, you're back with us, and last time you were with us, you talked about your book that you had. Oh, it was actually Black History. You were talking
Yes,
about Black History Month and all that.
yes,
Introduced your book to us, one of
yes.
your books. And do y'all know she done went away and came back with another book?
Yes.
She's not playing. Talk to us a little bit about just where you're from and why you are doing what you're doing.
Okay, I'm from Pittsburgh, of course, and I do what I do because I love the kids, and also because God has given me the gift of teaching, and I love my gift. And every day I love going to work. I love being with the kids, and I'm trying to mentor and just set a good example for them that they can be whatever they want to be in life. They can do whatever they want to do, and I try to keep the standards high and let them know that whatever they want to do, they're able to do. So I do this just to motivate and just to be an inspiration to others, like other people have been to me during my lifetime.
Yes, thank you. And Dr. Thomas and I met when I was working for the Pittsburgh Public Schools, and I met her, and I was coaching, right? Yeah, I was coaching, and she was just doing her thing, just a beautiful spirit. I appreciate that, and I can see the passion and the love that you have for this work for educating our students. And have you always worked for the Pittsburgh Public Schools? What are some things you did before getting into this to the school system, or even to that?
Well, before Pittsburgh Public, I was at a charter school. And
Okay.
before a charter school, I was a substitute teacher at Wilkinsburg School District because I grew up in my earlier years. I grew up in Wilkinsburg. So when I got out of college, my mom said, you need to do something to help your community. You need to give back to your community. And so she said, do you ever think of teaching? And I was like, well, actually, no. I wanted to be like Oprah Winfrey or something. I wanted to be, I had a whole different like plan in mind, but my mom actually knew like, hey, you need to try teaching. And I substitute at Wilkinsburg School District for, and then within the first few days, I loved it. I just was like, wow, I was like, I really like this. And so ever since then, I've been teaching. So again, started at Wilkinsburg School District. Then I taught at a charter school for a couple years, and now I'm with PPS.
Yes. Wow. Okay. So I'm here. I am. Hello. I'm here. Like, okay. I love it. I love your passion, even though, there's a lot going on in our school system. It's not a secret, period, especially even at PPS. And lots of people are leaving the school system. Um, Lots of teachers are walking out
Mhm.
and moving on and not wanting to be in this. I would love to know your opinion around that and what keeps you like sustaining good practice, and not only do you probably have challenges and things like that? What keeps you moving forward in the midst of the school system? Um,
Well, again, I give all praise and honor to God for allowing me to keep my peace, um, throughout the day, and just to keep moving. And, like the Bible says, when you're doing your work, you do it as if you're doing it for the Lord. This is God's work. So when I'm teaching, I'm like, this is God's work. This is the gift that He gave me. So when I'm teaching and although there's obstacles or whatever, I pray when I get home, I pray before I start my day, and that keeps me grounded. That really keeps me grounded in my work. It's just making sure that I have a relationship with Him, and I'm have a strong prayer life, and all of that is what keeps me going. So
wow,
it's really, again, all praise and honor to God for
wow,
allowing me, because some days are rough. It's like you want to break down, you don't feel appreciated, you don't feel like, students are listening. But then it's like when you're walking down the hall and they say, hey, that really helped me, or if they just give you a hug like out of nowhere, you're like, wow, you're like, this student's like giving me a hug, like appreciating and saying thank you. That really puts a smile on my face and just helps me to get excited about teaching for the next day. So I'm like, yes, I
mm,
am doing something. When I see that they learn something, they're writing better, they're reading better, when I see the growth, that really, really excites me. And that just motivates me again to keep going. Because so many, like you said, are walking away from teaching because it begins to be too much. You could get overwhelmed, but
yeah,
I have to stay strong, and my faith is strong, and my relationship with God is strong. And so all of that is what keeps me going every day.
yeah. I appreciate you sharing that. And honestly, um, to be grounded, you do have to be grounded in faith. And I love that you have your own company. So not only do you teach, you have your own company called Steps of Faith. And I love like Steps of Faith. Can you tell us a little bit about what that is and how you juggle doing that? Plus, you just shared all of that. You just shared how like
Right.
you juggle that, or like, and what is it? Yeah.
Right. It's just like I wanted another opportunity to connect with students, like, from other districts, that were struggling. Like there's so many. It's like I want to help everyone. I know I can't help everyone, but that's like I want to help everyone academically. So when I have time, I do tutor in reading and math, and I work with students, and I have other teachers that help me, retired teachers, retired principals that
Wow.
work alongside me, just trying to fill in those gaps in academics. So it's really, again, my love for learning. Like I don't want to see anyone fail, and I don't like when I see students, when their confidence, when they have that low self confidence about their skills and if they can read and if they can write. So it's really, again, just another way for me to help the families and help the students. And again, that's my own company, so I can like, say what I need to say. Don't have to, worry about any stipulations or
Right.
anything like that. So I can really just give them what they need and do that mentoring, do that consulting. It's like I try to do as much as I can for the parents and tell them how to be advocates for
That's
their
right.
children, because there's only so much you can say in school. But I like to empower the children and the parents. So this company really is close to my heart, and it's Steps of Faith, because you have to take the steps, in order to grow.
Mm, that's super powerful. Thank you. I'm going to put that on the screen so that people know that you do that if you're in the Pittsburgh area and you're located in Monroeville Mall, correct?
Yes, I'm located in Monroeville for now. I'm looking for a building, but right now I'm in Monroeville, and we
Right.
do online or in person with students. But we're really trying, especially since COVID and so many kids are like a few years behind. And if they were
Yeah.
already behind, that put them even further behind academically. So we really are trying to work with them to get them where they need to be. So that is this company is just really dear to my heart.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I did want to highlight that. And we have Dr. Thomas here because we really do want to dig into writing and her books. And we want to talk a little bit about how, give you guys some tips on how to educate students in those ways. And so, Dr. Thomas, I just want you to know that we appreciate you here at Everybody Educate. I want to make sure that anybody that I'm ever interviewing, any educator, knows and feels appreciated because I
Yeah,
know this is a hard journey. You know, we've been in this thing for a while. And I know that it can get weird, you know, you can get weary, but don't be weary in the well doing that you are doing because in due season, you will reap and you are reaping every single day. Like you said, when you see those students come back to you and all of that. So continue to keep moving, keep going, even in the midst
thank
of
you.
this. This platform, everybody knows that, if you tune into our show and if you're just tuning in, hi, welcome. We are with the one and only Dr. Tamika Thomas. She is amazing, guys. Share this, give me some comments, show her some love. Come on now. I'm trying to tell you guys, this platform is to provide entrepreneurs, and she's an entrepreneur, she's an
Yeah,
educator, professionals with a platform to share their journey and their determination so that they can showcase their unique brilliance. I'm unique and I like it. She's unique and I like it. So we are breaking the mold, guys.
yeah,
We I have to do business as normal and as usual. And she's bringing her faith into her work. I love that. She brings her whole self to the table, everything. I love it. And it's helping her to be sustaining. And then we have been talking a lot about culturally responsive teaching. And so when we think about education, and I asked Dr. Thomas, I asked you, how do you educate? And it's on the screen below. I want you to talk to us a little bit about this. I thought this was very unique. How do you educate?
I educate children to use their critical thinking skills. And like one quote that I use because I talk a lot about Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., throughout the years, I really look up to all his work and everything he did for us, as everyone in the world. And so one of his quotes says, the function of education is to teach one to think intensely and to think critically.
Mm,
Intelligence plus character, that's the goal of true education. That quote right there is just what I do. It's like I know that students need to think. I don't, give answers. I don't make it easy for them. I set high standards and I have the students believe that they can reach the standard. Oftentimes when educators work with African American children, sometimes they lower their standards or they try to like basically not challenge them because they might feel sorry for whatever they're going through or just feel sorry for them, and I don't give them that opportunity. I want them to be intelligent and have morals and ethics. So I teach using a lot of social emotional lessons. I talk about real life issues that the students go through and that I went through. So I talk about a problem I might have had when I was their age and how I solved it. And they can do it the way I did, or I give them some strategies and we talk it through. I allow them to ask me appropriate questions about my choices or the mistakes I made, and I build strong relationships, with them. I never feel above my students. I'm still a student of life. My students teach me something new every day, every time. They might just say, Dr. Thomas, you tripping or you doing something today, or whatever they tell me, they keep it real. They keep it 100% real. You're having a bad day, Dr. Thomas. You did, whatever it is, they definitely keep it real. They keep me humbled as a teacher. Um, and again, the teacher is never above their student, so it's like again, I'm just a student of life, and so I learn from them every day. um and so again, educating them using the skills to teach them how to use critical thinking skills. So I don't want them to be like, okay, think this way, you have to think this way. I want them to think for themselves. So I allow a lot of creativity in my classroom.
I absolutely love that. Critical thinking is not always, easy. It doesn't always come easy for everyone to teach that.
Mhm.
And you're right. We have to have high expectations and but still have teach character, but still teach how to navigate and manage the world around them without, you know what I mean, feeling like, oh,
Right.
they don't need, let me just give them this little worksheet. Let me just no,
Right,
I
right. It's
love
like more than a worksheet. It's like sometimes, and all the teachers out there, you guys know when you had to stop the class, like you might have been on this lesson and you had to just shut the whole classroom down and just have a conversation, like close the door and say, look, let's talk. And sometimes I would say that. I'll sit in my chair and be like, let's talk. What's going on? Talk to me. Someone talk to me. And we just have like heart to hearts about whatever they're going through. It might be some recess drama that happened. It might be just they're upset that, they didn't get a certain grade, or they just might be having a bad day. But I try to just build those relationships with them so that they can trust me.
yeah. I love that. And so I wanted to put that on the screen because I felt like those were the three key the secret sauce for for today.
Yes,
Um,
it's really, yeah.
it really is. Whenever you think about educating our students and having those high expectations, you've got to build relationships. Because I've seen people like try to build, like have high expectations, and you got to do this, da, 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 but they don't
Right,
always have the relationship. And the kids are
right.
like, wait a
And
minute.
it hits differently for the kids. It's like it hits differently if I say something as opposed to if someone else says something that doesn't have a relationship with them. Then they're looking at them like, what? And then I say the same thing. It's like, oh, okay. It's like that relationship. And like I told you, relationships, resiliency, and restoration. Restoration
Yeah,
of
talk to me about that.
relationship, that restorative. We do restorative
Mm,
practices in my school district. So
yeah.
restore, like if something happens, look, we have restoration. We're able to have a circle and talk about this issue.
Give us an example of where, like, in your classroom, or a combination of things where this has happened, where you've had to build a relationship. There had to be You had to teach resiliency. You had to be resilient yourself, and restoration. Give us an example of like maybe one of those ways to do that in culture responsive way through writing.
Okay, yeah. Well, I think a lot through writing. I do a lot of journal questions, and I use like real world, journal prompts, or I'll ask the question like, what do you think, the biggest problem kids have in society today, or something like that, like some question that makes them really think. And they're like, oh, I can say, and it's like I don't like grade it, right away. I just want them to write. So I want them to
Mhm.
not feel like, okay, she's going to put a red mark on everything. I just want you to write, and I want it to flow. So when they're writing, that allows them to express themselves and talk about, issues that they're having when they can't, verbalize that or say that.
Yeah.
As far as, restoration, there's a lot of times where kids, like, they sometimes have a problem communicating their emotions to each
Hmm.
other, or the emotions towards me or another teacher. And it's like, how do we work with this? And
Yeah.
so, if they're having an issue with another student, I might call them at lunchtime and call the students that are having, issues, and just talk about it. And I'll just be there without really interjecting too much, and just let them vent, what it is, what was the issue. And then I'll offer some solutions, and we
Hmm.
talk about it. And in the end, they just end up laughing. Like they might want to fight each other or something. They end up like laughing or whatever, because we had to talk about it. And we need to get more into communicating our feelings. Like it's okay to
Yeah.
have emotions, and you just have to know how do I articulate what I'm trying to say? Do I have to scream, yell, punch, what? No, you can talk through this. And so I do that a lot because I tell them when they go out in the real world, you're going to have to work with people that you don't like and you don't see eye to eye. And I told them, and I said, you can have a friend who they're your friend, but you don't have to agree on everything. And I stress that you do not have to agree on everything. You can agree to disagree and still be friends. And if someone says, well, I don't want to be your friend, that's manipulation. They're trying to manipulate you. They're
Gotta
going
teach those
to
life skills.
so like they're trying to manipulate you. If they're like, oh, I'm not going to be your friend because you're not thinking the way that I want you to think. And so I
Yeah.
tell students that like you have your own brain, and if you think this is wrong, then it's wrong, and that's what you believe, and you just have to agree to disagree. And someone who's truly your friend will still be your friend. So we talk about things like that, or we talk about like if we I also teach social studies, so we talk about different this might happen in history and we learn about this perspective, but there might have been another perspective, and just letting them know without going too deep. I always keep it age appropriate because I only work with fifth graders, so I don't like go to the extreme, but whatever we're talking about, and I bring it to their level and say, now remember, this
Mm.
person might have had this viewpoint, but there was another viewpoint.
I love that. And I'm glad you mentioned like the grade level because it's such a pivotal grade where students are really learning a lot of social, emotional, like things before they get to middle school. 'Cause, middle
Right.
school can be they're all over the place. But I love how you talk
Right.
about the conditions, and I love how you teach students and educate students to thrive in life. Like I think that is so powerful when you are not where you're going beyond the text and you're actually embedding life lessons for your students. I've seen Dr. Thomas do this firsthand. Like I watch her. I've even gone in her classroom before, even when she wasn't. I had to like come in there and you had to go to a meeting or something. All the students knew what to do, and they were writing, they were journaling. There was a practice that was happening that you can tell was embedded from the beginning. And I mean, I was like, they were telling me, they were like, okay, Miss Queen, we da 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 da, and da da. I was like, okay, y'all know what y'all supposed to be doing. I'm sorry. I think you had to go to
Right.
that meeting one day, and I said, okay, and they were up there like telling me, this problem is da 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 da. I said, oh, well, come on up and teach, and they were able to do that, and
Right.
that is the highest level. That's the independence level where they don't even they were able to think for themselves. It wasn't like, okay, well, what you want us to do? No, we
Right.
already
I want them to have agent. Yeah, to have agency and to be
come on.
change agents and be able to be leaders. Yes.
Exactly, exactly. I appreciate that. I appreciate that you do that. And I know that when we think about your journey and sharing your story, I've been really big on teachers having like advocating for teachers and their voice and their story. And I love your story, like of how you got here. And so this slides right into this. We talked a lot in our last interview about like how you got here and your influences, and I just want to kind of jump into your journey with writing and share your story about how you use writing as an outlet.
Okay. Well, with my writing, so as a student, even though like I have my doctorate degree now, I've never really felt confident academically. I was more like I want to say like I received A's and B's in like reading and English and things, but the other classes I was more like an average student. So I never felt like, I wasn't in the gifted program or anything like that. So I always felt like average. Like it was like I felt like everyone else was just so much more advanced than me. Like I would see them, get A's and get these great grades on their tests, and I'd sit there like, man, I would try really hard. Like I studied, I read, I tried, but I just sometimes just didn't get it. So it was like the average student, but I didn't have average effort. Okay, I had high effort, but I was like an average student. So when I was younger in the third grade, I remember we did a creative writing assignment, And I always had like a vivid imagination. So I just started writing and writing and writing. I remember I received an A like on this paper, and I was just excited because that's when the teachers would hang up your paper. They give you the sticker, that you would scratch and it would smell like strawberries or blueberries or whatever. So I had my sticker, I had my A, and I remember my teacher said, everyone that got an A, I want you to read your story for the class. And this was like in third grade. I remember this. And I read my story, and the kids they loved it. Like they clapped and and it was just at that point, it was like, okay, you're a writer. Like this is your thing. You know what I mean? And it just took that for me to understand, like, okay, this is what I'm good at. From a kid that thought like I wasn't good at anything. It was like I try to get an A, I get a B. I try to get a B, I get a C. It was just like I never made it the way that I really wanted to. So that writing was that outlet for me. After that, like the teachers would ask me to enter writing contests or anything like that. I would do that. And so it just really helped me. And throughout, I remember one time I had a similar experience, like August Wilson, when he was younger and he went to Central Catholic for a little bit. He wrote a paper and the teacher didn't believe that he wrote it. Like he's like, you didn't write this paper. Like it was so good. And he's like, you didn't write this paper. And I really like offended August Wilson. He's like, no, I did write this paper. Like, what are you talking about? And he got really upset about that. And I had like a similar experience where I was at a Catholic school and I wrote a paper, it's a really good paper. And my teacher's looking at me like, did you really write this? And yes, I did. I couldn't believe that they didn't think I was smart enough or, whatever to write such a good paper. So that right there in the back of my head growing up, I'm like, okay, do these teachers think that, I can't rise up to this level? Is that what they're thinking? And now, you grow up, you go to college, oh, that's deficit thinking. You know what I mean? I'm like, well, back then, that's how some teachers were thinking of Black students, like that we couldn't do, oh, you couldn't have wrote this paper and got an A, use those big words. No, no, not you. But yes, I did, and that hurt me, a little bit. But my writing journey, I just wrote through, my pain as I got older. When I was upset about something, I wrote down my feelings and I kept a journal.
Let me say this really quickly to you because I think you hit on such amazing points, and I don't want to forget this. Your teacher, number one, you had a few different experiences. Set the condition for you to discover a gift and a skill inside of you. I really want to hone in on that point.
Yeah,
We've got to make sure we are allowing students the opportunity to find their brilliance because
yeah,
there's brilliance in every last one of them. And I love your story about the average, because same thing, right? Same thing. I had similar experience, but to have a winning classroom and to have a winning life, you've really got to have the right conditions set and the right people in the right places. Even the teachers who were like, "You did that," because I want to say this. We talk about cultural responsive teaching.
yeah,
We still have those issues today. There's still many teachers, and if you're a teacher out there and you see a teacher who is limiting a student, speak up, advocate,
right,
advocate. And if you are the one limiting, it happens, right? It's in our world, and we've got to intentionally shut that down. Like we've got to have those high expectations. So I love the way, Dr. Thomas, that you use. You just said it. You use all of that pain to write, all of your how you felt on the inside to write as healing. That's beautiful. Imagine if you didn't have those opportunities. And then we
right,
see some students who don't, and they have behavior issues and all these different things. They
right,
need an outlet, or they don't like school when they actually could love it. They
right.
need an outlet. So yeah, go ahead and tell us a little bit more about your message about your pain is in your purpose. I love that.
Right. So the pain that you go through, like all the teachers or people that doubted me, was like that motivated me to do more, to do better, to not give up. So all that pain that I had, like, I had times when I was younger that I might have been, sad or down, or, some would say depressed, during those middle school, like I want to say seventh through ninth grade, these times where it was just like, what is my purpose here? I had to write, and I would journal, I would write questions to God. I would write
Mhm.
just my feelings of sadness, or, if I was happy, my happiness. If I wanted to communicate with my parents about an issue that I didn't feel comfortable talking to them face to face, I would write my parents letters and kind of slip them under their door.
Mm.
And that was just my way. Like, I had to write it. It was just a release for me. And so, and I see that in the classroom where a lot of the pain that these students are going through, writing helps them. I used to have a teacher who we could write, like if we were going through something, or we didn't want to write the journal question for today, she would let us, we could write whatever we wanted to write as long as we wrote. And she would tell us to fold the page back. And she would say, I won't read it. She said,
Mhm.
but fold the page back, and at least you got it out, whatever it was. So I'll tell my students, you can write whatever, and they say, well, can I write this, can I write a rap, can I write that I'm angry about? I'll say, you can write whatever you need to write, just get it out. And I like when they want to share it, when they want to share the writing with the class, and they get excited about that, because nowadays it's like, how many kids get excited about writing or reading nowadays? Like,
Right.
you know what I mean? So it's like, when I can get someone excited about reading or writing, then I feel like, okay, I've done something today. When all the kids have their hands up and they're jumping out of their seats, and you have a whole line of students that want to read their journal to the class. I mean, that feels really good.
I absolutely love that. That's probably why we bonded so well too. That's the same thing. Like I was going through my, like old letters and stuff. I literally have letters that I wrote throughout
Right.
my life, throughout my experience, letters to God, letters,
Mhm.
just like to friend. Actually, I had like a pen pal.
Yeah.
What happened to the days when we had pen pal? I
Yes,
literally,
I did that a couple years ago in my classroom. Yes, pen pals. I had a pen pal too. Yes, yes, I like
I'm
that
telling
pen
you,
pal.
kids love.
They
Well,
need to
so
bring that back.
we have to bring it back. Listen, guys, you know what? Writing is freedom. I really do feel like when I'm writing, but when I felt stuck with writing was whenever it was like all this pressure, like you got to write it this way, you got to do it.
Yes,
Da, da, da,
yeah,
da. And I'm like, wait, can I just write and then go into that? I mean, you should
yes,
be able to, you know.
yes. That's
So
why, I guess that's why I like poetry so much. Like, my favorite
yeah,
genre is like because there's no rules. There's no rules to that. It's like you can write, your stanza. It can rhyme. It doesn't have to rhyme. Just write. That's why, I really love poetry.
yeah. I love it. I wanted to share with you and everybody. I wanted to take like a moment and just share how much we need to like since the pandemic, since there's all these things happening in education. How do children feel about this? How do parents and families, how do you feel like, how are you coping with the changes in our world with AI and all this stuff? I think that we've done a lot of talking, a lot of testing, a lot of this is what you need to do, standard, da, da, da. Can we just have a time to just brain dump? How do we feel so that we can move on to the next level? I know our students are not as low as the as the scores are saying all the time, right?
Right.
And I really do believe writing is the answer. I
It
really
is.
believe writing is the answer, and that we can rebuild and just stop right now and think about like what is our story. So I wanted to challenge everybody who's watching right now. I think about the impact of education, and I want you to share a story, share a thought, make a comment, do something. I'm going to put in the chat something called Flipgrid. I like to teach new tools. There's so many tools that can help us write. It's actually before we started, before all this stuff was happening, I would always have teachers say, I just can't get to writing. Kids can't write. They don't want to write. They hate it. And I'm like,
Right.
they actually don't hate it. I think they just hate the process of which we teach it. But I
Right.
feel like they want to share their story. And now we're in
Right.
a world where you can actually get AI to write. So how do we navigate that, right? Like, so our children could go to that, but we can actually make that a beautiful magical thing if we really are intentional and are relevant. But
Right.
the impact of education is going to shift based on people's stories and how we navigate through this life in this new age. It's a whole different thing. What is your story? Share a story of like a teacher, an educator that kind of like, well, we did a little bit share that earlier about a teacher, but do you want to call out a teacher's name, or anybody's name that gave you the freedom and impacted you so much in education?
I want to say, oh my goodness, I want to call out Miss Johnette. Miss Johnette
Mhm.
was my eighth grade teacher. And first, I just remember eighth grade for some reason, but she was always like giving me feedback and telling me, you should enter this contest. You should write for this magazine. You should write for this newspaper. And she'd bring in like little, we had kids magazines back then, and it would say there was a contest or something. She would always challenge me to do that. Her class is when I read Anne Frank. I loved Anne Frank. All the stories. I just really liked the way she motivated me, and she allowed us to share our stories and hung up our stories and gave us just positive feedback. So I want to say Miss Johnette, that was the
Yeah.
one teacher I want to call out. And I also want to call out, let's not forget, I don't know how many people still go to Sunday school, but my Sunday school teachers, because I don't think a lot of kids go to Sunday school nowadays, but my Sunday school teachers, they saw something in me that I just didn't see. Because you know that time period when you're a teenager, you're just angry about everything. Like I was angry all the time. I'd be in church just angry, like just frown on my face, just angry. And my Sunday school teachers would just speak so much life into me and pray over me and tell me to smile. That was the main thing. Smile, smile, Tamika, smile, smile. You're so pretty, smile. And it's like I didn't feel that inside. So I guess maybe that's why I wasn't smiling. I don't know. But my Sunday school teachers really looked out for me. And they talked to us about our situation. And that's where I learned, my morals and ethics. I mean, at home first, of course, but church. Shout out to Baptist Temple Church in Homewood.
Okay, shout out. Okay.
All my Sunday school teachers there that encouraged me, and wouldn't let me like give up. And, you gotta read that, you gotta tell that story, and they would have me, I'd be like programs in front of the church, I had to memorize, I'd have to read this, read that, memorize. I did everything. I mean, those Sunday school teachers, they had us working. So I want
I
to give a
love
shout out to
it.
my Sunday school teachers.
Listen. I'm going to accept all of that too, because same thing. My Sunday school teacher was my grandmother, honey, and she did not play. She used to be like, "Let's go, have your Bible ready. Better have them Bible verses memorized."
Right.
She's like, "Okay, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me." But I used to be having to memorize all them daggone things. Don't you know those what you talked about in the beginning? Those same scriptures helped me through my life as well. I used to be like, "Dang, I remember this scripture when I was little," and then I was going through something. That thing came back to me. I was like,
Didn't it? Didn't
"Let me
it? Because
start
they say, what do they say? Train up a child in the
now in the
way that
way
they
that
should go, and when they're adult, they will never
and
depart.
when they were old,
Never
they would not return
depart.
to your
Right.
void."
So it's like I said, I was just this angry teenager, just would have never thought. And then when I was 18 years old, that's when I walked down the aisle, was baptized, and just all
Yeah.
those lessons I learned in Sunday school, they just help me throughout life. So then when you're going through something, you're like, oh, okay, hold up. I remember this song. I remember this
Yeah.
scripture. And it just came, oh, I remember my Sunday school teacher said this. So yes,
Listen,
yes. And those were
before we
like in my educational journey, those were the only African American teachers I had. Like in
mm,
school, all the way from kindergarten through 12th grade, I
mhm.
never had a African American teacher. So
Wow.
when I went to church, Sunday school, those were the African American teachers I had. But in school, I've never had an African American teacher. So that's
That's
another, thing that motivates me is that the kids get to see someone that looks like
exactly.
them, in the classroom.
Mm. I'm so glad you brought up that point because we have been talking about that a lot this year and advocating right in Harrisburg for to diversify the teaching pipeline because that's the same thing when I was younger too. It's the same thing that continues to happen.
Yeah.
No, come on, let's go. And I'm so glad that you shared that. And you were talking earlier about, train up a child in the way they should go. And when they get older, it won't depart from them. It really won't, and it won't return to your void. And so I appreciate how you carry that same legacy on. Same thing. Listen, I called myself at one point. I was the, I guess, Sunday school teacher. We call it a church school teacher. And when you were talking about how you were like angry and everything like that, I had a student. She is amazing. I'm gonna shout out Jordan right now because Jordan is so bomb. I love her. And she, same thing you described. I taught her at my old church when I lived back in Pittsburgh, and she was like always angry, always upset.
Yeah.
She didn't the highest. I'm not gonna tell her business, but she is right now. She is like the star. She sings, she dances, she acts. I'll never forget. I would go to all her shows, and well, not all of them, but I went to some of her shows, and I'm like, "See, you made it." She was like, "My sister gets it. I don't get it. Nobody like." And I said, "Girl, you're gonna be okay." And it is so important how we speak to our children to grow them in order to grow students. So I like for everybody educate, we grow teachers, students, and culture, but students is the most important for me because it's they remember everything we say, they remember what we do, they remember how we like how we made them feel. So I thank you so much for growing students in such a culturally responsive way, identifying the fact that your own areas that you grew up with where you're like, what, if they're going through this, I don't want them to go through that. I'm going to come I'm going to come and make things better for them. And
Right.
one thing that Dr. Thomas does this, guys, is through her books. I love it. So I'm just going to put a couple things up on the screen, and I want you to talk to us about your mission now and how that connects with children.
Okay. Well, so I'm writing children's books from a Christian perspective, and so I have 4 children, and I remember going to a library and trying to find books for them.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, I have 3 boys. So the boys, I'm always looking for like a boy character, an African American character, so they can see themselves in books. So that was like few and far between when I was looking for the books. And then to find like a Christian boy in a book, I definitely could not find that. So I was like, well, and I'm looking, I'm like, what in the world? Like, how I went to every library, and I'm like, so you're telling me that you don't have a book with an African American character in there or something like that? They're like, no, we don't, or we do, but it's just like a picture book or something. And I was really looking, and that was like just an area that I noticed there weren't a lot of books. And so my mission now is to save the children through teaching of values and morals in the Bible through my stories. My bishop was actually, he gave a sermon um, like last year, and he was talking about how sometimes we'll see a problem, as a Christian, we're like, oh, we see this problem, and no one can solve it. And he said, sometimes, he said, if it keeps bothering you, that's because like you're the one
You're
who's
the
supposed
one
to solve
supposed to.
it. Like you're
Yeah.
the solution. And when he said that in my head, I'm like, wait, I'm like, I'm the solution. You mean I can solve this problem? I'm like, oh, maybe I should write the books. I'm
Yes.
like, the books aren't in the library, so maybe I should write them. So
Mm.
I started writing these books. The first book that I wrote is Prayerfulness. And it's just a collection of prayers and scripture verses for students today. And myself and one of my former coworkers, Dr. Macklin, we both wrote this book. And this book is just a way to give kids a tool in how to start talking to God. Because a lot of kids, like I said, a lot of kids don't go to Sunday school or church right now. So it's like my way of, okay, if there was a book for them to say, hey, God's your friend, this is the way you can talk to him. I created some prayers. Again, this was all God inspired. I created prayers, and my co-author, she linked up the Bible verses that would go with the prayer. And then I have a page where the students can write their own prayers, because remember, we talked about the importance of writing and the
Mm-hmm.
importance of getting your emotions out on paper and how therapeutic it is. So
Mm-hmm.
I gave both. I have the prayers, and I also have a page where they can write their own prayers. And this was just one way of me to get into this writing world, and to give the kids a tool, because they don't understand that we are at war right now. We're at a spiritual war. And these kids need to have a tool that's not their cell phone, not their best friend, not their cell phone, not asking everyone, but know that God, is the answer. And so when I was younger and I was going through things, I told you that I wrote, but you know what else I did? I prayed. I prayed
Mm-hmm.
about my situations. I prayed every night before I went to bed. I prayed when I was scared, when
Wow.
I was afraid, when I was sad. And so it was like, I did that, but how many kids
Yeah.
know to do that? How many of them know, like, okay, when something's going wrong, pray to God, look in your Bible, do whatever. So what I did is I wrote this book, and it has prayers on every topic that I could think of. What I said was, I started with a list of things that my students go through or talk about, or that I went through, that I would have to pray about. Things like school, sorrow, decisions,
Mm-hmm.
friends, drugs, families, divorce,
Yeah.
sport, acceptance, identity. That's a big one.
Yeah.
Identity, peer pressure,
Mm-hmm.
bullying, stress, cyber addiction, depression. I tried
Wow.
everything that the enemy would try to throw at them. I tried to give them a prayer to deal
Wow.
with that, and a scripture to deal with that. And I just want, I mean, my goal is just to have every child across the world to have this book and be
Wow.
able to have this tool.
I love this, Dr. Thomas. I really do. I'm going to put this back up on the screen for you guys to see. I have this book as well. And what I really do love about it is that what you said earlier, it's something they can read, but it's also a response where they can write. Already a journal within it too, a writing platform within it too. And I love that. I love the simplicity of it. It doesn't feel like, oh my gosh, should I read this? It literally gives, you guys really gave a tool for students to use, but then wisdom and knowledge for them to guide them as they use it. I love the prayerfulness. There's a lot of things out there today to be mindful and do all these things, and that's fine. We all want to have self-care and all that, but I tell you the truth is there needs to be like some substance when we're trying to be mindful, we're trying to have self-care and all that stuff, because we can mess around and just get ourselves in a space where, especially our children, we're like, they're just doing stuff, they don't even understand why. But I
Right,
love how you all take this book and in this book you allow them to understand why it is relevant to them. How many times do we hear adults and people say, you know what, I wanted to be a good student in class, but I was going through so much crap at home. I couldn't even
right,
focus. Like
right,
my teachers thought that I was dumb or I was failing or I didn't want to be there. I actually was just going through a lot and I did not have an outlet. And so to create winning classrooms and to be relevant, children need an outlet, and it cannot be all about get this work done, get this work done. It needs to be about community. It needs to be about, like, if we, like Dr. Thomas talked about earlier, if we need to stop class, stop. We will win better with students when we address that there are needs in the room. Not to say everything is a counseling session, but if
right, right,
they have tools to
right,
you know what I'm saying? So
right,
like I know we can't do like prayer and all that stuff in school.
right, right,
There are
right,
things that we can do. We can set the conditions, we can show love, we can show care, and
right.
then
We Here.
families can definitely purchase this book. Anybody can purchase it. Go right on, guys. Here's the scan right here. It is available on Amazon, but we want to make sure you guys go to Faith. Say it again for me. Let me.
Facebook.store. So www.faithbooks.store. So if
Okay, I'm
you
putting
go
this up on the
online,
screen right now.
yes, if you go online, again, you can order this book for your niece, your nephew, your grandchild, whoever, and the prayers are not long because, Robin, what does God say in the Bible? He said you don't have to have these long, drawn out prayers in front of everyone. It doesn't have to be, you
Mhm.
go in your prayer closet in your secret room and you talk to God the way you want to talk to God. And so that's why, again, I left these pages where they can write their own prayers because writing is therapeutic. But then I
Yeah,
also, if they wanted to say something because words are powerful, then I gave them some powerful words to say, to speak to their situation. Because I always talk about the power of words. Like when God created the world, when he spoke, he spoke. Okay. And everything was good. So
yeah,
again, it's about the words that we're speaking, and so much kids are speaking negativity and negative, and I want them to be able to have a tool. Again, your nieces, your nephews, your children, young adults, anyone, get this book
absolutely.
and the power of words that you speak. And so I was helping them just to start that conversation.
I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. I want to share one more thing before we go, because like I told you guys, that we talked a little bit about this book last time, but we did not go deep into it. So I'm glad we had some time to really
Yeah,
push into to the book and really share your heart. And you and Dr. Macklin. Dr. Macklin is amazing. I got to meet
yeah,
her. Well, I love the team effort that you all have for your mission to create books from a Christian perspective. So like, guys, you have got to learn and meet Dr. Thomas in so many different levels now. I'm loving it. You have seen her heard her talk to us a little bit about how to be culturally responsive in the classroom and her story, and talked a little bit about Black history and how she embeds it. She talked about so many things, right? But she also has this business. That she tutors and helps and works with families, and she is a writer, and even it will be coming up doing some creative writing sessions. So guys, look out. She's also a part of we work together on some things as
yeah.
well. It's just beautiful. So you will see her face a lot more, at least on my platform. And anybody, please, I need you all to share this out. This last thing I want to share with you guys is this last beautiful book that is on its way out. You guys get a sneak peek. And so share with us as we close out today about this new project that you have worked on. I think it's absolutely lovely. So here is the book. Let's just share my screen here. And you can talk to us about how they can pre order the second book.
Yes, the second book. So the second book, again, before I write, I always pray. So before I write anything, I always pray. So the next book is that's coming out in like a week or so. It's called God's Promise. And this is about how the rainbow was given to the world as a covenant between God and every living creature on earth. Before this rainbow, the people on the earth were making wrong choices, and God was incredibly sad. He destroyed the earth with a flood, but found favor in Noah and his family. They were saved from the flood. This was God's way of giving humanity another chance to get it right. The rainbow is God's promise to never destroy the earth by a flood. The rainbow is a beautiful symbol of hope when we go through our own storms in life. So, this book is a poetic expression of what the rainbow means to
Wow.
Christians. We need to embrace the rainbow and not let others author the story for us. The rainbow is God's creation, not a human creation. God's promise is a reminder that we do not need to take the rainbow back because the rainbow is never taken from us. So the rainbow is a sign that God is still in control. He never loses a battle, and he's already won. So when we look at that rainbow, like each page, it's just a poem about the colors, what they represent, and what it means. Because when children look up in the sky, I want them to know, wow, we have a rainbow. Why do we have this rainbow? I want them to know the reason that we have the rainbows, because God put it there for you as a symbol. And so this book again is God's promise. It's a cute little poetic book about his promise and why we have the rainbow, and just like a poetic expression of the beauty of all the colors in the rainbow. So, I want kids to know that. So again, God's promise, if you like to pre-order it, you can email me with your information, and I'll put you on the list to order this. It'll be on Amazon in a few weeks. It's not there yet, but it will be there.
Yeah.
That my email is on the screen.
Yes, you guys can see the email. I have it on the screen here and also be in the chat for you. Guys, both of these books, get them. Get them for your, if you are watching and you're an who educates students at Sunday school too. Like, this is great. These are great for so many different purposes. Get them for your children, get them for yourself. Like, I just really love, I love children's book. I don't care. Like, it's not just for kids. It's a reminder to us too. Sometimes we need to remember those things from our childlike heart that sometimes grows cold in a world that we live in a
Yeah.
world where we're losing hope. God is still able, and we've got to continue to press on. Dr. Thomas, we have just had a wonderful, wonderful time with you today. I would love you to give us some closing words of encouragement about how to write with purpose. You've demonstrated that today, but what are some, maybe a few key things you want to leave the audience with? How to write with purpose through culturally responsive teaching. And yes, take it away. A winning classroom.
Again, just let the children in your classroom be free to write, and they don't feel like they're getting, so much criticism about their writing, but just let them write and have a few chances. Give them several opportunities to write in the classroom. Give them opportunities to also read their writing, and give them opportunities to share their writing in groups. Sometimes I do partners. I have them share with the class. They can read to me, just, and if you love writing, I guess it's just a little bit easier. If you love reading and writing, it's easier because you're already passionate about it. But just giving them the platform to be able to use this as expression or use this as emotional healing, that is what can help. So just being the leader in the classroom, and again, giving them opportunities to write, share their writing, and actually read to them, from good writing. Like we read Langston Hughes, August Wilson, like just any, if I find a good children's book, just like Robin said, if it's well written, it has a message, I can read that book and say, oh, what did you like about that story? Everyone loves a good story. That's one thing. So, they like to hear a good story, tell a good story, write a good story. So
Mhm.
if you have all of those in place, then your classroom should be a happy place to write, giving them several opportunities. And even if they can't write like a paragraph or two paragraphs, just start a little bit at a time at the beginning of the school year and just keep adding on. Never say, I don't like when teachers say, well, that's all he can write. That's all she can write. It's like, well, no, they can write more, but you just have to work with them. So don't give up on the students, and don't limit them. No matter if they're in a special ed, if they're in a regular classroom, do not limit these children, because I've had kids that might have written two sentences at the beginning, and now they're writing like 5 and 6 paragraphs, and they are so proud when they show me. It's like, look, remember how I was at the beginning of the school year? Now look at me, and make a big deal about it. Like when they write, make a huge deal about it. I mean, I make it, you know how I am, Robin. I make a big, I sing, I dance, I clap, I do everything, and they love
Oh,
it. They think I'm
yeah.
silly as ever. They do think I'm silly as ever, but it gets them excited about writing.
Yeah. I agree. Make it, and I'd say, and I think you alluded to this earlier. Make it a daily exercise that
Right,
they just keep practicing it, no matter what it looks like. I love how you said, let them just be free every single day,
right.
like right, and they will grow. Thank you for that. That's so really, that's so good, guys. Please give it up for my guest. Don't forget to purchase both her amazing books, and I want to say purchase groups of them, purchase a bunch of them, and share them with the students. They will be better off, I promise you. We love that you're here. We're so excited. We're so excited to hear, like, when your book does come out in the next couple of weeks, your second one, God's Promise. Guys, get God's Promise. Get prayerfulness. This is just a remarkable, brilliant educator who
Thank you.
educates inside and outside of the classroom, and she really is helping to create winning classrooms for a thriving life, not just making it. So, how can we find you? Is there any, like, or is it the email? This email, a good email if we
Yes,
want?
email, and I'm also on Facebook. I have a Facebook page for Faith Books. So if you look up Faith Books, or if you look up Steps of Faith,
Okay.
you'll see. And I have some Facebook platforms you can join, Faith Books or Steps of Faith, and I'll have the updates on my books as they come out.
Yay. Guys, that was Faith Books. Make sure you all keep up on Faith Books, Steps of Faith. We talked a little bit about that earlier. Steps of Faith tutoring, and Steps of Faith is also on Facebook. Please show some love to my girl. She is just incredible, doing incredible things, and she is just as a wealth of knowledge, love, wisdom, and I'm super excited that we are connected. So thank you so much for being here
Thank
today.
you. Thank you. Thank you.
People. Guys, listen, like I said, get the book. Get the book, get the book, get the books. Both of them. Support my guests today, and know that during this summer, there are it's a great time for you to get books for the students. It's a lot of things that happen over the summertime. Some students are in programs, some students are not, but listen, add these to the book list, so your students can read them and they can come back recharged and better, and just doing all the great things. All right, guys, thank you so much. Remember, we are creating winning classrooms to grow teachers, students, and school culture. And we want to make sure that people are doing it with excellence and equitable practices. That's what Everybody Educate is all about. If you missed any part of this interview, go back and watch the replay. Share this out. Watch each week. We are here live every Monday hosting Brilliance on a Monday. So we'll talk to you guys later. See you next week with another amazing guest. Bye. I am your host, Robin, Queen Educator. Bye.